Hello everyone, it is Abigail of the Black Book Space. I want to talk to you about something very serious. It is gift giving season. Now I feel like, you can give people gifts all year round, but this time talking about, the holidays. I want to talk to you about 3 books that I highly recommend you get for the Black romance lover in your life. So come back and we're going to talk about those books. Now, I talk about this book a lot. It's definitely in my playlist for Black romance novel lovers, and Farrah Rochon wrote The Hookup Plan for all of us out here who love the nerds that tend to fall for each other. So this book is about Dr. London Kelly and a guy that she meets, again, or re-meets. They knew each other in high school. She couldn't stand him, but he was secretly in love with her. And he comes back into town, finds out that she works at this certain hospital that he's supposed to be doing an audit for. Because these state hospitals, sometimes they be out here doing crazy things. That was what was happening in this book. She wasn't completely aware of all of it. He was. He should have told her what he was doing. But just like what happens in some of the other books that Farrah Rochon wrote, the man, he not using all of his faculties. And he's so excited that they're back in each other's lives. She's a little skeptical, but it turns out beautifully in the end. This is my favorite of the 3 books that Farrah Rochon wrote about the 3 friends. The Boyfriend Project, The Dating Playbook, and The Hookup Plan. I love The Hookup Plan the most, even though I love all of them equally. So I feel like, they're all like 10 or above. On a scale of 1 through 10, they're all 10 or above. This one is maybe like a 15 because there's a doctor involved. I like the fact that they were able to reunite. They knew each other before. Things didn't work out because they were children. And then they become adults and they realize, this is not a bad idea. Everything turned out great at the end. I love that London was getting herself together. Poor thing, she's one of those that is always trying to champion everyone else's cause, and gives her high blood pressure, which is not the greatest. So she's working on bettering herself and getting a hobby, and her hobby, her extracurricular obviously becomes Drew in here. So it's something else, but it's a beautifully written book and I highly recommend it. So if you're looking for gifts to give to that person in your life who loves romance novels, this is definitely a great choice. I highly recommend it. 7 Days in June is a very special book to me because it is the first book that we celebrated at an Epic Book Chat. Love the Epic Book Chat. Love this book. It's an epic book. That's why we celebrated it. I love it because it's super gritty. Okay? So, and it's about authors, which is pretty cool. So, this woman's name is Genevieve, but she goes by Eva. And Shane and her, when they were children or like in high school, basically, they spent a week together in this house. And then after that, they never saw each other again. So once again, the idea of being reunited, I love that. But they had just so much tragedy going on in their lives. I think it was interesting to see that perspective in here and to kind of find out how they ended up. It wasn't easy for either of them. Shane was basically an orphan, and Eva, his mom, was a crazy person. So it was just something else. It wasn't like one of those super, super fluffy romance novels like I usually like to read. It was rough, it was raw, and it was beautiful. Tia Williams definitely has a way with words. Very underrated author. I feel like we need to talk about her a lot more. I follow her on Facebook and I'm so excited because when we were done with the Epic Book Chat, I, gave a little review of the book and how the Epic Book Chat went really well. And she commented on my post and she said, "I'm glad you liked it." And I was so excited. So I highly recommend this book, you guys. I talk about it all the time on my blog, theblackbookspace.com. You should definitely grab a copy so that you can celebrate this book with us because it was just so well written and it blew a lot of people's minds, mine included. This is one of my favorite stories by Eric Jerome Dickey, Before We Were Wicked. I like it because it's a prequel to another book, right? So he wrote a book called Bad Men, Bad Men and Wicked Women. And this is how everything began. So there are these two lovers, Ken Swift and Jimmy Lee. They have this whirlwind romance, and they end up having a baby and hating each other, and it's awful. It's really bad. So Jimmy Lee's entire family hates Ken Swift. Her real name is not Jimmy Lee. It's not. I don't know how to pronounce her real name. But they have this long romance, and Ken Swift is like a henchman. So he goes around beating the hell out of people and making money doing that. And one day, kills a person. And Jimmy Lee has that over him, and that's why she ends up leaving, and she's, holds it over him. Hey, if you ever try and come after your daughter, like, I'm going to tell people what happened in wherever that happened at. And at the end of the story, you will not believe what happens at the end of the story. It's the reason why I haven't picked up the next book, because it was sad enough that they ended up not working out, But what happens after that, to me, is just awful. So their little girl, Margot, ends up, growing up, and that is where the story Bad Men and Wicked Women picks up. So get this story for that romance lover in your life. This book is not completely only about romance, right? So my favorite authors are the ones who can wheel in the romance, but also have some mystery in there, some comedy. That's what Eric Jerome Dickey did. He was wonderful at that. So that's why I highly recommend this book to you and all of his books. But if you're just trying to get one or two, maybe three, these are the books that I recommend, right? So The Hookup Plan, 7 Days in June, and Before We Were Wicked by Eric Jerome Dickey. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that you do something that brings you joy, and I'll see you later. Bye.